Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to the Light and Shadow podcast. Whether you've been journeying with me through many episodes, or this is your very first time stepping into this space, know this: you are not here by accident. You didn't stumble onto this episode by coincidence. Something inside you, perhaps a quiet ache, a question you've been too afraid to ask, or a whisper from your higher self, brought you here. And I honor that. I am Grey, seer, Reiki master, intuitive life coach, and soul alchemist. In this space, we do not pretend healing is linear. We do not chase perfection. We meet the truth of who we are, both the light and the shadow, with honesty, compassion, and fierce devotion. Because healing isn't about fixing yourself. It's about coming home to what was never broken. And today, we are going to walk into one of the most misunderstood, complex, and tender wounds of the human heart: trauma bonds. Those soul knots that feel like love, that ache like longing, that confuse your nervous system and shatter your sense of self. If you've ever loved someone who hurt you, if you've ever walked away only to return again and again, if you found yourself addicted to the almost, to the chaos, to the hope that they'll finally change, this episode is for you. Because trauma bonds aren't just toxic relationships, they are survival patterns. They are energetic entanglements rooted in unhealed wounds. They mirror back the love we didn't receive, but desperately craved. And we don't stay because we're weak. We stay because our inner child still believes love is something you earn. We stay because chaos feels familiar. We stay because we learned to associate abandonment with passion. But beloved soul, you were not made to settle for pain disguised as devotion. You were not made to lose yourself to hold on to someone else. You were not made to prove your worth to be chosen. You were made for sacred, steady, nourishing love. The kind that sees you, holds you, and honors the truth of who you are. In today's episode, we will explore what trauma bonds actually are and how they differ from healthy love, and how to recognize when you're caught in one. And most importantly, how to begin breaking free. Because freedom is possible. And not only is it possible, it's your birthright. And we must first look at what we've been afraid to see. So as you settle in, take a deep breath in. Place your hand over your heart and say gently to yourself, I am ready to see clearly. I am ready to come home to myself. I am ready to let go of love that asks me to betray who I am. Before we begin, a gentle reminder: this podcast is not a substitute for therapy. It is a sacred support space, a spiritual mirror, and if you're on this journey and want deeper guidance, you'll find all my offerings linked below. From healing Reiki infused candles for trauma release, to one-on-one sessions for energetic cord cutting, to our private The Light and Shadow Sanctuary group space for soul support. You can also follow me on TikTok at Grey Ethereus for daily insights, rituals, and reminders that you are not alone in this. Now, breathe again, soften your shoulders, feel your spine align, and know this: you are not broken, you are not alone, and this is the beginning of your return. Let's begin. Let's begin with clarity. A trauma bond is not just a toxic relationship. It's not simply a matter of communication, differing values, or growing apart. A trauma bond is a deep energetic entanglement that forms between two people when pain and attachment become fused. It is love laced with fear, It is closeness tangled with control. It is intensity mistaken for intimacy. And most importantly, it is not your fault. Trauma bonds often form when you experience a cycle of intermittent reinforcement. Love is given, then withheld. You're pulled close, then pushed away. You're adored, then abandoned. And somewhere in your nervous system, it starts to feel like a game you must win. You begin chasing the high of being chosen again because the love feels conditional and the threat of loss is always looming. But here's the truth, beloved soul. Love should not feel like survival. Love should not feel like walking on eggshells, monitoring your every word, waiting for the mood to shift, for the next rupture to arrive. In trauma bonds, there is often emotional addiction. You crave them even when they hurt you. Idealization and devaluation. One moment you're everything, the next you're nothing. A deep fear of abandonment. So you tolerate the intolerable just to not be left. Self-betrayal. You silence your truth. You override your needs. You abandon yourself just to be close to them. And sometimes you can know it's unhealthy, even unbearable, yet still feel unable to walk away. Why? Because trauma bonds do not live in the logical mind. They live in the emotional body, in the nervous system, and the parts of you that still believe love must be earned, proven, chased, or sacrificed for. You learned this somewhere. Maybe it was the parent whose love was unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes ice. Maybe it was the caregiver you had to become good or quiet for. Maybe it was watching your role models abandon themselves for scraps of affection. And so your heart began to believe this is love. Love hurts. Love is chaotic. Love is something I have to fight for. But my love, it is not. That is not love. That is wounding wrapped in longing. And this is where the healing begins. By naming it, by seeing it, by no longer romanticizing the pain. You cannot heal what you keep calling passion. You cannot break free from what you refuse to name. This episode is not about judgment. It's about liberation. Because when you name the pattern, you loosen its grip. When you recognize the loop, you begin to reclaim your power. And when you say to yourself, even just once, I deserve a love that doesn't hurt, a crack of light opens in the cage you didn't even realize you were in. Let's keep going. What I'm about to say now is one of the hardest truths to sit with, and one of the most necessary to heal. Sometimes we don't fall in love. We fall into familiarity. We fall into nervous system recognition, into patterns that feel like home, even when home was never safe. You meet someone and feel an instant connection, a spark, a magnetism, a gravitational pull. And while we often romanticize this intensity, what's often happening underneath is this. Your body recognizes their wounds. Their inconsistency mirrors your earliest experiences. Their push-pull dynamic mimics the love you had to chase as a child. It feels familiar, not because it's right, but because it's what your body was wired to expect. Unpredictability becomes passion. Emotional chaos becomes chemistry. And pain becomes proof that it's real. You tell yourself, if it hurts this much, it must be love. If I feel this much, it must mean something. If I just hold on a little longer, maybe they'll finally choose me fully. But, beloved soul, real love is not chaos. Real love is not a performance or a project or a puzzle to solve. And yet, we mistake trauma for love because trauma is where our attachment systems were first formed. If you were taught that love was conditional, that you had to earn it, prove yourself, stay quiet, stay small, or sacrifice to be loved, then part of you internalized a painful rule. I must abandon myself to be loved by others. And so, when someone mirrors that old energy, you feel it in your bones. Not because they're your soulmate, but because they feel like the person your nervous system once called home. But now, you're not a child. You don't need to chase love to survive. You don't need to trade your worth for scraps of affection. Now, you get to choose differently. You get to rewire what love means in your body. You get to remember. Real love feels safe. Real love is consistent. Real love honors your truth and never demands your silence. So if you're wondering why you keep attracting the same dynamics, why you keep ending up with people who are emotionally unavailable, hot and cold, or even manipulative, pause and ask, where did I first feel this? Who made me believe that I had to suffer to be loved? What part of me still thinks pain is the price of connection? Because when you ask that, you begin to break the trance. You begin to choose from awareness, not from wounding. And that, beautiful soul, is where the cycle ends. Let's keep going. One of the most disorienting parts of being in a trauma bond is not knowing you're in one. Because trauma bonds don't always come with obvious red flags. They don't always scream abuse or control. Sometimes they whisper, just give it one more chance. They come dressed as passion, as loyalty, as ride or die devotion, when in truth, they're built on survival wiring, not soul alignment. So how do you know? Here are some signs you may be caught in a trauma bond. You feel addicted to the highs and lows. When things are good, they're euphoric. You feel seen, loved, chosen, but suddenly, withdrawal, silence, conflict, coldness. And even when it hurts, you wait for the high again. You chase the next emotional hit. You feel like you need them to feel okay. This is not love. This is nervous system dysregulation. It's your body stuck in a cycle of reward and punishment. Number 2, you can't stop thinking about them, even when it's toxic. They hurt you, you cry, you journal, you tell yourself you're done, but the next day, you're back in their texts, or watching their stories, or justifying their behavior. You feel bonded through pain, not trust, and the connection feels too deep to sever, even though it is draining you. Number 3, you defend their actions, even when you're suffering. You make excuses. They're just wounded. Oh, they didn't mean it. I'm pretty sure they've been through a lot. You minimize your needs. You tolerate disrespect. You silence your truth in the name of understanding, but deep down you know. You're abandoning yourself to hold on to them. Number 4, you feel like your identity is wrapped around the relationship. You've lost touch with your own joy, your own rhythm, your own voice. Everything revolves around them, their moods, their needs, their validation. You're afraid of who you will be without them. That's not connection. That's enmeshment. Number 5, you feel fear, not peace, at the thought of leaving. Even if you know the relationship is harming you, you feel frozen at the idea of ending it. You fear being alone. You fear regret. You fear losing the potential of what you hoped they could become. The fear is a trauma talking. It's not your soul. It's your survival system. Beloved soul, if any of this resonates, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not weak for staying. You are not broken for bonding in your wounding. You are trying to survive. You were trying to make sense of old pain through new people, but now you are waking up. And awareness is the beginning of liberation. You don't need to shame yourself. You only need to choose differently now. You are allowed to want love that feels like peace, not proving. You are allowed to choose relationships that feel like home, not like walking on eggshells. And you are allowed to walk away from anything that teaches you to abandon yourself. Because love, true love, does not ask you to shrink. Breaking a trauma bond isn't just about leaving a relationship. It's about leaving a pattern. And that is sacred, courageous work. Because trauma bonds don't just live in the mind, they live in the nervous system, in the energy body, in the places that still believe. If I can earn their love, I will finally feel safe. But beloved, healing means realizing you don't need to earn love. You only need to return to the love that already lives within you. Let's talk about how to begin untangling. 1. Create physical and energetic distance. You cannot heal in the same environment that keeps reopening your wounds. Unfollow, block, mute. Not out of hate, but out of self-respect. And if they're still in your life in some capacity, create energetic boundaries, like cord-cutting rituals, protection candles, declaring out loud, I release what no longer honors me. This helps your energy body reset the loop that kept you bonded. 2. Anchor into safety daily. When you leave a trauma bond, your nervous system may panic. Not because it's wrong, but because chaos became familiar. So we have to create a new familiar. Each day, practice nervous system safety. Breathe into your belly. Rest your hand on your heart. Say, I am safe. I am no longer in survival. Use Reiki or somatic healing tools to soothe your body. The goal isn't just to let go of them. It's to let go of the part of you that thought pain was love. 3. Grieve what could have been. One of the hardest parts isn't the loss of the person. It's the loss of the fantasy, the hope, the potential, the version of them you believed in. Honor your grief. Write the letter you never sent. Cry for the parts of you that tried so hard. Light a candle and whisper, thank you for the lesson. I'm choosing me now. Grief is not a sign you should return. It's the evidence that you're healing. 4. Rebuild your inner connection. Trauma bonds often form when your inner child is still craving what they didn't receive. To be chosen, to be loved unconditionally, to feel safe with another human. But that need doesn't go away when the relationship ends. So now it's time to reparent that part of you. Journal to your inner child. Speak to them. You're safe now. I won't abandon you for someone else's love. Do things that bring you joy without asking for permission. The more you connect inward, the less you chase outward. 5. Choose love that mirrors your healing, not your hurt. You've known what it's like to be bonded in pain. Now let yourself experience love built in peace. This begins with you. Be gentle with your own heart. Speak to yourself with tenderness. Hold your own hand through the ache. And when new connection arises, ask yourself, do I feel safe with this person? Do I feel like I have to earn their love? Or do I feel free to be me? Healing isn't about never falling. It's about learning how to rise differently. And beloved soul, you are already rising. Let me tell you about a client. We'll call her Maya. Maya came to me after ending a long, on-again, off-again relationship with someone who never fully chose her. He would pull her close, say all the right things, promise a future, then vanish. Reappear, repeat. Every time she tried to walk away, a part of her couldn't. She said, I know he's not good for me, but I feel addicted to the hope. I feel if I just love him enough, he'll finally stay. In our sessions, we uncovered that this wasn't just about him. This was about her father, who left when she was little, who was loving one day and absent the next, who made her feel like she had to perform to be worthy of affection. Her nervous system had mistaken inconsistency for passion. Her inner child had fused love with waiting to be chosen. We didn't just cut the cord to the man, we cut the cord to the pattern. We used Reiki and cord-cutting candles to clear energetic ties. We did inner child healing to soothe the one who always felt abandoned. We created rituals to rebuild self-trust, safety, and worth. Over time, her clarity returned. She stopped checking his page, stopped fantasizing about maybe one day, and began creating a life that chose her back. Now Maya is in a completely different place. She's building a new relationship with herself. And when love comes again, it will meet her on new terms, not out of need, not out of old wounds, but from wholeness. And beloved, that's possible for you too. Beautiful soul, if you made it to the end of this episode, then you are already doing the bravest thing of all, telling the truth to yourself. The truth that chaos is not love, that passion shouldn't cost you your peace, that being wanted is not the same as being chosen, and that the version of you who stayed too long, who hoped too hard, who gave too much, that version doesn't need shame. She needs love. You are not broken for craving connection. You are not foolish for trying to make it work. You are human. You are wired for love. And sometimes the only model of love we had was one wrapped in pain. But you don't have to live in those old blueprints anymore. You can choose love that doesn't leave you guessing, love that feels like safety, not survival, love that holds you without making you bleed to be birthy. This is the work I walk with clients through every day. And it's the work you've just started right here, right now. So I ask you, what would it feel like to let go of love that hurts? Who might you become if you no longer chase being chosen? And what kind of love is your soul truly calling in? If this episode touched your heart, I would be honored if you left a review, shared it with someone who needs it, or explored deeper support through the links below. You'll find Reiki-infused candles for cord cutting and emotional release, private coaching to help you rebuild your sense of self, and our light and shadow sanctuary where healing happens in sacred community. You can also join me daily on TikTok at Grey Ethereus for healing insights, rituals, and energetic wisdom to guide your path. And next time on the Light and Shadow podcast, we'll journey into the sacred power of feminine and masculine energy. What happens when they're out of balance? How to embody both in harmony, and why integrating polarity within is the key to magnetism, self-trust, and sovereignty. Until then, the magic is already within you. You are more powerful than you know. Until next time.